Will Trump's revolution trigger the final war against the deep state? The president exposes the epicenter of the Russiagate fabrication, targeting the architects themselves. The battle lines are drawn. He fires top-level analysts, the very ones who crafted the narrative for 8 long years. Shelby Pearson, the Russia expert, gone. Key figures once considered untouchable, now removed. The sound of slamming doors echoes through Langley corridors. But this is far from over. The shadow system he challenges will not surrender quietly. Can the president survive the coming counterattack? He moves to dismantle the entire machine, the one that poisoned international relations. This purge is more than internal, it is a global signal. An era of baseless accusations is ending. Yet, true normalization remains distant, a complex dance on a razor's edge. Can Washington still claim moral authority after years of weaponized lies? Moscow watches, with cautious silence. Their long-stated position now validated, not by their own words, but by the actions of the American president himself. The report that started it all vanishes from a Senate server. A simple message in its place. Not found. The cold digital void speaks louder than any admission. For the American public, a dual reality unfolds. They witness the collapse of a media-fed myth, a decade of fear unraveling. But they also stand at the brink of a monumental internal crisis. A direct confrontation between the Oval Office and the entrenched power of the security apparatus. The smell of burned paper. The taste of long-promised vindication, the uneasy feeling of a nation tearing its own seams. The fight for the soul of American intelligence has begun. But who will control the truth when the dust from this political explosion finally settles?
The stage is set for an epic confrontation between a president and a shadow government, a battle that will define the very soul of America. But these personnel changes are merely the surface, a tremor before the earthquake. A monumental struggle now begins over America's future. Will the nation be led by unelected intelligence agencies, or by its elected commander-in-chief? The outcome of this war, echoing through the halls of Congress, will determine the global power structure for a generation. So we must ask, is this the final act of a carefully orchestrated political revenge, or just the opening move in a much larger, more dangerous game? The silence from Moscow is deafening, a quiet optimism as they watch their accusers tear themselves apart. The world holds its breath, waiting for the next explosive revelation. Who will be left standing when the dust finally settles?
The entire house of cards built on Russian collusion allegations is now crumbling publicly. American citizens, weary of years of media hysteria and phantom conspiracies, finally see a crack in the dam. President Trump's purge of top CIA analysts is just the beginning. But this is more than a simple personnel change. It is a direct declaration of war on the corrupt establishment that poisoned the nation. Could this be the moment the American public finally learns the entire truth? For years, shadowy figures within the intelligence community manipulated narratives. They sabotaged. They leaked. Now, they face a reckoning. The new director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, just dropped a bombshell. She confirmed undeniable proof exists. Proof of a deliberate conspiracy within the Obama White House to fabricate the Russia story. The very foundation of the scandal is exposed as a malicious lie. What shocking names will be revealed in the coming days? The tension in the corridors of power is palpable. You can almost taste the fear. This is not just about Washington politics. This is about justice. The American people were lied to for 8 long years. Their trust was systematically destroyed by anonymous sources and manufactured intelligence reports. Now, a seismic shift is underway. President Trump, with brutal new resolve, is systematically dismantling this corrupt machine piece by piece. He targets the very architects of the deception. The cold, sterile halls of the CIA headquarters echo with the sound of doors closing for the last time. But this fight is far from over. The forces arrayed against him are immense, powerful, and deeply entrenched. They control vast swaths of the political process. They will not surrender quietly. This initial purge is merely the first skirmish in a much larger war. A war for the soul of the nation itself. What brutal retaliation will the deep state plan from the shadows? The stakes could not be higher. In the heart of the capital, a shockwave reverberates through Washington. Amid the sounds of sirens and bustling conversations, news breaks that an unconfirmed report on Russian interference has mysteriously vanished from the official Senate Intelligence Committee website, replaced by a stark message, "Not found." How could such a pivotal document simply disappear? For many Americans, this act signifies a silent acknowledgement of failure in the years-long Trump-Russia saga. This disappearance isn't merely an oversight, it marks a deliberate move by Trump's administration to dismantle the decades-old narrative that fueled anti-Russian hysteria in Washington. With each passing day, it becomes clearer Trump and his team are not just executing staff changes, they are launching an assault on the very mythology that has governed American intelligence policies. The echoes of voices from Moscow, dismissing interference allegations as baseless fabrications, are louder than ever, with officials like Dmitry Peskov and Sergei Lavrov reiterating the absence of concrete evidence. Does Washington's silence indicate a pivot in the narrative, a turning tide against the establishment's long-held beliefs? For the Kremlin, this does not merely signal a diplomatic victory, it suggests that the very foundation of accusations against Russia is fracturing before the world's eyes. But while this unfolding drama captivates the public, the mood in the United States is charged with anticipation. Could Trump's assertive actions be the critical breach that shatters the long-standing cycles of political sabotage? Clamor for change grows louder as citizens tire of unrelenting investigations and allegations, yearning for clarity amidst the fog of controversy. Yet, the story isn't over. The complexities of Washington's power dynamics indicate that the storm is far from passing. With Trump's intentions clear, the question lingers in the air: will this be a pivotal moment for a new political era, or will entrenched forces push back against the tide of change?
While the air crackles with anticipation in Washington, shocking revelations unfold as Donald Trump returns to the White House. His first significant move? A dramatic overhaul of American intelligence agencies, sending shockwaves through both the U.S. and beyond. The CIA, once a bastion of established power, now finds itself shaken. Trump has ordered the dismissal of a high-ranking analyst specializing in Russia, the very architect of the controversial 2016 report alleging Moscow's meddling in the elections. Was this bold action a mere reshuffle, or could it mark a pivotal moment in unraveling a narrative long held to be truth? According to The Economist, this shakeup doesn't stop with just one analyst. A whole circle of officials involved in fabricating that damning report are now on the chopping block, including Shelby Pearson and a key CIA figure named Wingwen. For 8 years, these individuals have shaped the intelligence community's Russia policy, never questioning their untouchability. Yet now, we witness what could be deemed a targeted purge, a calculated dismantling of a narrative that has fueled an era of distrust. And just as the dust begins to settle on this seismic shift, new bombshells emerge. Tulsi Gabbard, the new Director of National Intelligence, goes public with claims that there is concrete evidence enabling charges against members of the Obama administration. The accusation? They knowingly exaggerated Russian interference to tarnish Trump's presidency, distracting from the pressing domestic issues at hand. As Gabbard promises to unveil irrefutable proof of high-level political collusion, the blow lands squarely on the American establishment's credibility. What was once presented as an undeniable truth now teeters on the brink of collapse. In a striking symbolic gesture, a controversial report on Russian interference vanishes from the official Senate Intelligence Committee website, replaced by a stark, chilling "not found." Is this mere coincidence, or a calculated retreat from a narrative that has ensnared American politics for years? For many Americans, this disappearance signals the dismantling of the prolonged saga of Trump versus Russia, while in Moscow, the reaction is one of quiet confidence. Russian officials reiterate what they have long claimed: the allegations were baseless, tools of political combat rather than legitimate inquiries. As this historical narrative is rewritten, the implications stretch far beyond the boundaries of intelligence agencies and political parties. It signals to the world that the structure underpinning accusations against Russia is crumbling, and with it, a chance for a painful yet possible dialogue between Moscow and Washington emerges. However, the stakes are high. Will Trump's aggressive reform edge past the formidable resistance entrenched within the so-called deep state? As political currents become increasingly turbulent, the fallout from the CIA shakeup could just be the opening act of a much larger confrontation with forces that have mastered the shadows to dictate U.S. foreign policy. The approach of stormy weather is palpable, with every decision. Trump seems poised to challenge not just rivals in Congress or media, but the very system that has orchestrated decades of mistrust and division. Are we witnessing the dawn of a new era, or merely the prelude to a ferocious battle for control? Only time will unveil the consequences of this audacious campaign against the establishment.